So part of the theme here is everybody's looking forward to their flight. It's all about energy. It's all about energy. So the first thing I will say is it's been a great week. I went to my room last night and I was taking some notes and reading a few things. And I thought, what would be the one word that I would use to describe this week? And there were so many, but I'll keep it simple. Wow. This absolutely unbelievable. And Sam, I don't know where you went. Thank you. Your heart, your energy is all over this week. So thank you so much. Love that. Well done. Well done. We feed off of that. So before we bring Richie up, I was asked to say a few things. And the first thing I'll say is this, because I've had a lot of questions this week. What's your responsibility? You've been here for 5 months. I haven't had a chance to meet everybody yet. So as a Chief Development Officer, I'm responsible for marketing, sales, real estate, and construction. And those teams, I will tell you, and I feel comfortable saying this, you're in great hands. You're in great hands. We learned a lot this week, a lot of things that are going well, and quite frankly, the stuff that I wanted to hear, the stuff that we need to improve on. So please believe we're going to be in the office on Monday morning, and we're going to start working. We don't wait months to fix things. We'll be back in the office on Monday morning. A little bit about my history. I started my career with Taco Bell the same month and year that Monica Rothgary started her career. 1993, December 1st, 1993. I was an hourly manager in northeastern Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. And I ended up being with the brand for a total of 25 years. I was on the franchisor side for 16 years and the franchisee side for 9 years, mostly in operations, opened a bunch of new stores. In between those two stints, I actually was a franchisee of a bread company on the north side of Indianapolis in Carmel, Indiana, called the Great Harvest Bread Company. I share this journey with you because the reality is I understand what it's like to be a part of the franchisor. I understand what it's like to be a franchisee. And I know exactly the journey that you're going through, and I'm so excited to have an opportunity to be here and help you get through it. On budget and on time. Richie said it, on budget and on time. Really, really important. So let's talk about after Taco Bell. I spent a couple years in the benefits administration business. I ran an administration team of 200 people. A great experience. Then I get a call from Richie. So prior to that, I want to back up a second. In June of 2022, I was actually sitting in a pew in a church at a high school graduation for my son. I was sitting near Richie Huffman, and he said to me, "Hey, Mark, I want to meet with you and have breakfast next week." And a lot of people say that. He's not going to call me. Well, he's Richie Huffman. He's different. Monday morning, I get a phone call, and we met that week. And when I said, "What are we meeting about?" We spoke for an hour and a half. And at the end of the conversation, I was humbled. He said to me, "I really want you to join our advisory board of directors." So I spent the last 2.5 years on the advisory board, which has given me an opportunity to understand the resources this company offers, to understand what we're doing from a scalability perspective, the growth, the people, the processes. And I used to leave those board meetings. I used to tell Richie, I was like, I have to go back to my regular job now, but I'm so jacked up over here, like I'm balancing this out. I love the energy and the drive, and it was a great opportunity for me to understand what was happening here at Celebrate. So after my 2.5-year interview, right, we'll call it that, I then had the opportunity overall to come into the brand, okay? So September 5th at 7:11 a.m., it was the Thursday morning, I get a text message. And Richie says, "I want to meet you." And I'm thinking, when? And then I know, Richie, that means today. He wants to meet me today. So he said, "Let's have lunch." I said, "I can't, I'm busy." We had dinner. And we sat and we spoke. I said, "What are we talking about?" He goes, "I really want you to bring me in to be our Chief Development Officer." And I was so excited. I was so honored to be a part of this and to really be a small part of what you all have already done and what we will continue to do together. So, without further ado, it's my honor, it's my privilege to introduce our CEO, our founder. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody up. Come on, we need some energy. Richie Huffman. Awesome, awesome. Thank you.
how he remembered the date, the time, the moments, like.
Well, I'm talking to Richie Huffman, right? I'm talking to Richie Huffman.
Thank you.
So really the intent here, folks, is to understand Richie's journey, which a lot of you know, because at this point, someone's at some part of that journey. And I think there's a lot of nuggets that you'll be able to get out of this to take back to your schools and implement. So let's start at the beginning. You talked so much about entrepreneurship and being your own boss. Some of our franchise partners have left the corporate world. We have people that are dentists, engineers, they did construction, pharmacists. When did you first know you wanted to be an entrepreneur and truly own your own business?
Yeah. Before we get started, guys, thank you. Thank you for being here today. The feedback has absolutely been amazing. Thank you again to the whole entire Celebrity team for putting this together. I think, again, we nailed it this week with the whole theme of we grow people big and small. I'm so proud of this event from a perspective of I feel like we're all walking out of here understanding the true purpose and meaning of Celebrate. For the first time, to be honest with you. But after today, there's no doubt in my mind, we all, as franchise partners, understand what we're out to accomplish through our Grow People Big and Small mission. Would you agree with that? Amen. So thank you for that. So I don't know if this theme will ever change, to be honest with you. It's such an important part of who we are and what we believe, and this is why Celebrate is Celebrate, and I hope that this is the main reason why you joined Celebrate as a franchise partner, to be a part of growing people big and small. And I can guarantee you guys this, my commitment to this, which is my commitment to you, will never change. My commitment is so crystal clear to me, and helping you grow in becoming an entrepreneur. And as we talked about all week, and my second goal for you is to help you grow wealth and protect it from your family, and that was why we had Michelle Mayer, and I've heard phenomenal reviews about Michelle. You guys were so hard to judge, just like you are right now. You're like, yes. I'm like, how they feeling? I'm not sure, right? But you guys were just so locked on what she was saying. But the feedback and the thank you for bringing her here to help you guys. Somebody told me they've already called their credit card company and making sure they got 3% and less, blah, blah, blah. So it's already in motion of the purpose of helping you guys grow, not only as business leaders, but also as wealth creators for you and your family. So I wanted to get that out and thank you guys for an amazing 2.5 days.
Awesome.
What was your question?
When did you first know you truly wanted to be an entrepreneur?
You know, I've been fortunate enough and blessed to have amazing parents. And so they really were the ones that showed me what an entrepreneur life could look like. And so some of you know my background, some don't, but I remember, as I mentioned, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I did not go to college, did not want to go to college, didn't feel that I was a college material. So I went right into working. My parents were fine with that. So started working construction, if you can imagine, as a laborer. I think I was 18 coming out right. I graduated, I think at 17 out of high school. Went right into working construction, and then my dad said, "Son, is this?" I'd come home, mud up to here, boots, and my dad said, "Son, is this really what you want to do?" And I said, "No, Dad, it's really not what I want to do." And my dad was a entrepreneur also in the bakery business. So he said, "Why don't you come to work with me tomorrow?" Which I did. So the life of that is not a good life. It's up at 3:30 in the morning. It's out on the street by 4, and basically I'm delivering bakery products with my dad. But I was a saver, and so my mom comes in my bedroom one day and she says, you have 14, remember this is 87, 88. She says, "Do you know that you have $14,000 in your bank?" I said, "Yeah, I put it there, right? I'm a saver." And she says, "You're gonna go buy a piece of real estate." I'm like, "What?" She says, "You're gonna go buy a piece of real estate. It's too much money sitting there." And I always tell my kids this story because a normal child at 18 would have said, "Get out of my bedroom. I'm not doing what you're saying." But I listened, and I was like, "Okay, Mom." So we went and I bought a $60,000 townhouse, converted it into 2 apartments. It was like, what's this, 40 some years ago? I remember the numbers like they were like yesterday. I got $450 for the bottom apartment. I got $325 for the top apartment. My mortgage was $557, and I was making $200 a month, and I was in the investment business, right? So I would say that was my first taste of what it felt like to be a business owner, an investor. And for the next 7 years on that bakery delivery truck, I had one goal and one goal only, and that was how fast could I save $14,000 more to buy my next house. And so that's where I think my first experience with entrepreneurship and really creating my own destiny and what I do is an impact on me and the harder I work as an investor. And then a couple years later, my mom comes. Remember, I'm a good listener. My mom comes. She's 1992. She says, "You know what you should do?" I'm like, "What, Mom?" She's like, "You should open a tanning salon. Tanning salons are really big right now." I'm like, "Okay, Mom." 6 months later, I'm in the tanning business. So I have the real estate. I have my tanning salons, tan and nail salons, and then 1994, she came and said, "You ready to open your first school?" In which I did. And so you guys know, I went back, I sold the real estate, sold the tanning business, and been dedicated to this for the last 31 years. But it was really shown and demonstrated by my mom and my dad.
Yeah, I love every time we talk about your beginnings, and truthfully, even today, it always stems from that. You always talk about your parents, and then I think about your kids, right? You're 5, and they see that.
Yeah.
I mean, what a role model for so many. But I love that it always starts there, and it's been talked about all week. You're an avid listener.
Yeah, but that's why I get so emotional and so excited when I see others, like I mentioned Bakul, and seeing the pride that his children had in his mom and his dad of what they were accomplishing. And we saw it yesterday, right? 2 incredible young ladies that were so proud of their moms of what they were doing. So I relate to that very easily because that was my background, my upbringing.
Yeah, we see that. So we talked a lot about this week about the path and the journey, right? Everybody's journey is the same, but the path is different.
Yeah.
Right. You said that multiple times.
Yeah.
What were the steps you took to forge your own path to become a small business? You've talked about some of the things that you've done, but more specifically, what did you do to create that path? Just beyond listening to your parents.
Well, once I decided that was the path I was going to take as far as being an entrepreneur and on that path, then it was, Michelle was talking about, it was like, what vision do I have? What am I looking for? What does the next 5 years look like, 10 years, 15? And at a young age, I didn't have that kind of intelligence of 5-year tranches and all that kind of stuff that came later. But I just knew I wanted a better life for me and for my children, to be honest with you, or my future. I just knew that creating my own destiny and being an entrepreneur, I liked that control, and I liked that path of what that could bring, because I saw it through my mom and my dad.
Yeah, and I'll go back to some of the conversations I've had with many of you this week about really the same mindset and philosophy of, why do you really want to do this? And we talk about creating generational wealth, doing things in the community. Who doesn't want to pour into children, right? So that it all makes sense in the end.
But I also saw, like, I see both sides, right? I see both sides very easy. And entrepreneurship, as we know, is not for everybody, right? There's going to be some tough times, and you have to get through those tough times, and you got to push through those tough times, and you got to sometimes even lie to yourself a little bit and have a lot of faith of this journey that I'm on, and it's going to work. And so not everybody has the tolerance for that, just like Michelle talked about yesterday, right? A lot of people, the market starts going down, people jump out. The market's going down and people jump in. Like, why? I don't know, right? It's a very different, entrepreneurship is a very different breed of people. They're special.
Absolutely. So not a word that I use to associate when I think about you, but the word failure.
Yep.
Right? Describe a time when you were on the brink of failure, and what turned it around?
Yesterday? No. I don't know. Failure. I remember a time, and this is the entrepreneur spirit and pushing through. I think you mentioned earlier, like potholes, right?
Yeah.
Potholes, if you don't see potholes, then you're not looking, right? If you don't see issues, then you're not looking. If you don't see failures, then you're not looking, right? So I love failures because that's a chance for us to modify, adjust, and improve, right? So I love failures. That's a horrible thing. I'd rather not have failures, but I think it's a great way for us to continue to learn. I remember, I think we had 6 schools, and the lady, my secretary, calls and says, Bank of America's on the phone. I'm like, okay. Pick up the phone, and she's like, Mr. Huffman, we have 6 of your employees here and trying to cash their paychecks, and you don't have any money in your account. I'm like, okay, can I call you back? Right? And now you got to adjust, right? I'm like, where the hell am I getting this money from? I mean, literally on the spot. So thank God I was able to call my mom and say, Mom, can I borrow a couple of dollars and to make payroll, in which we did. I remember just you figure it out. There's been so many brinks, and somebody was saying the other day, like somebody just said, like, well, look what you've created. Like I sit here in amazement, but then I look back and say, I can see exactly how we got here. I can see exactly how we got here. 31 years of grinding, modifying, knowing what we want, knowing where we're headed, and never giving up on that.
Yeah, and back to the pothole conversation, I actually asked you one day, I said, do you even see a speed bump or a pothole?
Yeah.
And your response was, I do,
Yeah.
but I also see very quickly forward.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what keeps you really ahead and motivated.
And you adjust. And so I didn't finish that story of the bank, but what was happening with the bank is that at that point, we had 6 schools, and every single school had its own bank account. So if this school didn't collect its tuition, then that school couldn't pay its rent and couldn't pay its payroll. So what we learned was to restructure and create one parent company where all 6 schools funneled its dollars into it, which allowed there to be money. And so if you only had, if you had 4 schools that were profitable and 2 schools that weren't, the enterprise as 6 schools could still survive. So it forced us to say, this is broke and let's fix it.
Yep. Awesome.
So, and that's the way I look at it. Everything's fixable. I think there's an answer to everything. If I don't know the answer, which I don't know a lot of answers, I will seek out the people that can help us get there.
Awesome. So one of my favorite topics, and I know it's yours too, people and team building. A lot of our franchisees, they're new to being an entrepreneur. They haven't had the opportunity to even build a team. So talk about the decisions and thought process you made when you built your first team.
I had no clue. I had no clue. But what I did have was a mentor, which was my mom. My mom showed me, because she was already in the business, she taught me who the right hire was. And that was really based on, back then, was really just based on qualifications, right? And I think back then it was more of qualifications. And for me, it was, do I really like this person? Can I see myself working with this person? And I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. I get to work with people every single day that I truly care for. That's the benefit of being an entrepreneur. If I don't like you, why am I forced to work with you? I don't have to. So I think that mantra still today of you really get a chance to do that. And I mean, here we have 2 of our top executives. Allison Chomo's been here 24 years. Thank you. 26 years. So I must have saw something really special.
Yes,
right?
you
After
did.
26 years. Or more importantly, she probably saw something maybe special in me, or we saw something special. And then Lisa, 22 years? 21, oh God, I was close.
The math was right if you put them together.
Yes,
though.
thank you.
Perfect.
The average. But I think, as a brand now, our franchise partners are very fortunate to know exactly what we're looking through those competencies of what we're looking for in our teachers and our leaders. I didn't. we had to build those tools and through time and through years of, we went to some of our top teachers. That's how we got to our competencies and said, what are the behaviors of these teachers that are absolutely amazing? And we put that competency list that they possess this, they possess this, they possess, and then we used that as our format, which now everybody uses.
Awesome. So Ellicott City, 1994.
Yep.
Number one.
Yep.
Right.
Still there today.
Yep, absolutely. So when did you realize that one location wasn't enough?
Oh.
Number one. And number two is, what did you do to prepare yourself for number two?
I think, again, number 1 to 2 is a mindset, right? No, I'm the kind of person, and we see it here today, I'm the type of person where I want to continue to push and push and push until we can't push anymore. I want to see what we're capable of. Yep. I want to see what I'm capable of. And so I think that's was embedded in me. I knew it wasn't going to be, whether it's real estate, whether it's locations, to me it was just, it's all, and it's still today, push, push, push to see how far we can go in an industry or a topic that we've selected.
Yeah, and it's a big decision. One of our roundtables, spearheaded by Kim Wolf, we talked about the decision and what does it look like to grow and go to the next one, and do you have to do it in the first year? The real answer is we want to do it at the right time when you're already showing signs of success, right? It's not based on just the time. It's based on what makes sense, and back to the people development conversation, do you have the right team and process to be able to build School 2 and not forget about School 1? Really, really important.
And it's a snowball effect. You can't get the 2, and you sure can't get the 3 if you haven't done a really good job with 1, right? Like you just can't get there. So I think our school in Ellicott City, the very first one, was wildly successful from day one. I wasn't ready for school. I wasn't financially. It was very successful. Yep. So financially, I was ready for School 2. I wasn't personally ready for School 2 in my competencies and my ability to lead. And so when we went to second school, that school actually struggled, to be honest with you. I know, Allison, if you remember this, but I was like, we're boarding the windows up. We're boarding the windows up, right? It was like, we're not going to make it, but we just kept on trucking through. And that was kind of my, my scare tactic, I guess, to motivate back then, right? But and then you win number 2, and then you're able to move on to number 3, and you just continue to win. And as you win, you get better, right? To where we're at today, where, I think, how can we lose? Because we know exactly what we're doing. We know exactly if a business is struggling with enrollments, payroll, whatever. We know exactly where to look and where to find the answer to improve that segment of the business so we can push forward.
Awesome. A lot of times, a lot of our conversations are around culture. Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about culture. How important was company culture in the early days, and how did you foster it as you scaled?
I'm not even sure how we've done it today, to be honest with you. Everybody tells me the culture comes from the leader. And so I don't know, Mark. I would answer it that way. I'm super proud of the culture that we've developed. I'm super proud of who we are and what we stand for. But I just think the culture stems from the CEO or whoever's leading that organization, whoever's leading that school, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to instill that culture. We're trying to instill that culture of grow people big and small into our franchise partners, because we don't want, 116 different cultures out there, right? We want one culture, which is we grow people big and small. That's what I stand for. That's why I'm a Celebrity partner. But they tell me it comes from the CEO.
Yep, there's truth to that. We spoke, I think it was yesterday about culture overall and process, and I think it was Shruti who asked the question about what do we do to develop. That's cultural, and we have our growth plans. We do it at all levels of our company. I think it's important for the franchisees to really hear that and understand that. I have one-on-ones with my team every week. Week 4, our one-on-one, they know it. It's solely around the growth plan, and we focus on the growth plan and what's my part in that growth plan to be able to help them. So again, there's cultural pieces of that. And we don't just talk about competencies and culture in the field. We actually really role model that in the office because we truly understand the value and purpose of that.
Yeah, and I think the more I listen to that, I think culture comes in, and you can establish culture in a lot of different ways, right? Culture, we grow people big and small. We talk about this all the time. We're constantly, it's a constant, never-ending improvement mindset, right? It's a mindset of there is an answer if we look for it. There's a mindset of we like to win. We talk about it all the time. We win.
Yeah.
Right? So all of that together, all those different philosophies and mindset, I think builds a culture. And I think at the end of the day, you've either built a very empowering culture and a mindset,
Yep.
or you haven't.
Yep.
Right? But I think when it rolls back, I eat last, I leave last, I get there first. So the owner or the CEO or the leader has to also demonstrate and role model that culture they're trying to establish.
And this is the visibility piece. I got a phone call, I don't know, it was a month or two ago from someone I used to work with. And obviously people see Richie all over social media. And the question was, did you ever see Richie? I'm like, Richie Huffman? Like, yeah. I said, I actually think he sleeps under my bed. We see him every day. We see him all day. We have meetings. We have one-on-ones. All the stuff he expects us to do, he spearheads for us. So, yes, we see Richie.
You probably, what do you say? More than you?
No. And if that was true, I wouldn't share it in this climate. That's for sure. We give our franchise partners so many tools, but they are still running their own business and make mistakes along the way. What were some mistakes you made early on, and what did you learn from them?
That's another tough question, right? Because we make mistakes all the time. We're still making mistakes.
And you actually typically, when we talk about that, you I'm not going to say enjoy that, because it's like the thing with failure we spoke about before, but every time we talk about something that went off track, the conversation always ends the same way. And that says, guess what? We just got better. Mm-hmm. We just got better.
Yeah.
So think about earlier in the game when you started off. Any learnings from that you could share with our franchisees?
I don't think I really, Martha, I don't think I really understood financial statements, to be honest with you. I think some people run their business through their checkbooks, and if there's money there, then we have money, and if there's no money there, we have no money. The biggest aha, there was a time where I would, our P&Ls were produced, and where does your eyes go? Right to the bottom, right? And it's either a good month or it's a bad month, right? But that's not always true, because then there's a financial statement called cash flow, which is probably the most important statement there is. So that was a tough lesson for me too, which was the net income's the net income, but the cash flow is the cash flow. And so that was an aha moment for me, and that's really, to be honest with you, net income's just, I think, an indicator. But at the end of the day, the end of the month, end of the quarter, I want to know, did the enterprise, did the business generate the cash flow, the cash that we expected to receive? And I think that was one of my ahas.
And really balancing that out, we talk a lot about, you made a comment I was listening to yesterday about we're still investing money in enterprise, right? Mm-hmm. You talk about that more than cash flow. Cash flow is obviously clearly important, but the investments that we continually make as we learn and grow. I love the fact, one of the things I learned when I was on the board about our resources, we don't hire late here. We know what our plan is moving forward, and we hire early. There's many examples of that in our company. Mike Forrest, I think Allison shared that earlier in the week, so that's a good example of that. Winning companies and winning cultures think that way.
Invest early.
Absolutely, and I would encourage everybody here. I mean, I did it as a franchisee. I would encourage you to think that way. Think about what's happening as you move forward. Hiring late is hard. Hiring late is hard. Invest the right money at the right time. We had many conversations about marketing. Huge. Yeah. Community connections, absolutely huge. Invest the right amount of money at the right time, and really good things will come.
Yeah, I think Nishant talked about this yesterday, or Allison, I think you might have mentioned this, that he's way ahead of his enrollment with his staff.
Yep.
And that's, why he's
Absolutely.
wildly successful.
So, talk about all the great things about owning a celebrity school, but not every day is easy, right? There's a lot of people, things that happen. Teachers call out. You have to dig deep and truly become an entrepreneur in those moments. When things were at most challenging for you, what motivated you to keep pushing forward?
The desire of the vision of doing it. And you got to remember, I was very, very young. I mean, I was doing bus runs and van runs and enjoying the business, and I enjoyed that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'd come on. I mean, the best times were in that van with those school agers taking them to school. There were some wild times, and they were fun times.
Yeah.
Until the van didn't start, and you're like, okay, we got to get these 20 kids off to elementary school,
Here's your cash flow statement.
where are the jumper cables? So I've been there, I've done that, but you just push through it, right? It's fun and it's exciting, and where the van gets in an accident, there's 1,000 different stories behind that, but
Awesome, thank you. What role has risk-taking played in your journey, and how did you manage risk in the early stages? You said it, you were very young, right? You're listening to your parents, you're eager, you're delivering bread, you're talking about tanning salons. Oh, by the way, hey, this school, Mom, I'll do it. That's what happened, because it was too far for your parents based on where they wanted to grow. Mm-hmm. You said to your parents, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. I had nothing to lose, to be honest with you. I really had nothing to lose.
Talk about that a little bit.
I felt like, my biggest calculation and risk was one thing. I just thought, like, what is the worst thing that could happen to me? If I did this and failed, what is the worst thing? And the worst thing that I could think of was that I would be homeless. Like, at that age, like, that was like the worst thing that could happen to me. And then I said, well, that's never going to happen, because I can go back to my bedroom with my parents. So that was my motivation. Once I got that green light of, like, I'll never be homeless because I got to always go back home and back to my bedroom and start over again, it was green light. And to be honest with you, I've never looked back. And I can tell you, you just push through it. I'm a very faith-driven person. I believe that. I just know that there is a way if I focus and get ready. I remember sitting in the house and I don't know what the dollars were. We had more payables. We owed people more money than we had money. And we were in trouble. And I said, I'm going to figure this out. And we sat down and we started chunking how we were going to pay these people, and we worked our way out of it. You figure out of a way. The worst thing you could ever do is quit. You'll never win quitting. Never.
Yep.
But I do believe if you are determined enough to win. You will figure it out, and figure it out either because you're getting laser focused and you're forced to figure it out. Well, they say if you want to take the island, burn the boats. Don't give yourself an option to return. Like, burn the boats. Now you have no option but to win, right? Or you start asking people. It's amazing how many people are willing to help you if you ask, and help you figure this problem out. And I still believe that today.
Yeah, there's so much I admire about you, Richie. And one of those things is your ability to not get caught up in the periphery, the noise, and really staying on that path. I've never seen anybody who does it better than you. And like, even we have conversations, and you will look at me straight in the eye and say, you know what? We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. And I always walk away. I'm like, you know what? He's right. He's right. We need to stay on track, and we need to focus on what's important and move forward. So, again, you have so many great traits, but
I always say, I
love
laugh.
getting that from you.
I think that's my gift, and I think that's my curse. I can get so locked in and so focused that it's a gift, and I can get so locked in and focused that some people think that I'm not being very nice.
It's interesting.
And I've learned through the years of how to massage that and balance that of like, I'm not being, trying not to be rude. I'm just really low focused and knowing where we're going. And and I hate to say this because it sounds selfish, but what they say, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. So I have to take care of myself. I have to protect my thoughts. I have to protect the family in where we're headed in the focus.
Yep.
Right? Because I feel like I'm ultimately responsible for that. So the noise that you're referring to, I'm really good at kind of like, I don't have time for that. not. Like I always laugh. My wife say, "Did you know that Johnny's mother's uncle's brother passed away?" I don't care. I really don't. I'm sorry, honey, but I really don't care because I don't have time for that story. I feel sorry for them, but I really don't have the time to talk about it. I apologize. So now she doesn't bring me the brother's, uncle's, father's, sister's dog. You know, I can't do it. I mean, we have to be, especially as entrepreneurs, you got to be focused. You got to be dialed in, right? This is not a joke. This is serious business, and there's a lot of things at stake here. And serious things need serious attention.
And I love that you self-reflect. Another conversation we had, I said to you, what's your best attribute? And your response to me was, it's also my worst.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is it? And you said, intentional pursuit.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? It's so well said, because the reality is your intentionality and your pursuit of excellence is very, very clear.
Yeah.
It's clear to all of us.
Yeah.
But there are times where it's like, hold on here a second. You have to take people with you. We need to make sure that we're on the same bus together. So I love that. I love that you could balance that out in your head and say, you know what? And you looked at me and you said, I know what I need to work on, Mark.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a good conversation.
Well, that's because my team's told me what I need to work on.
Yeah. Yes.
Lisa over shaking her head. I mean, and that's what I love about these ladies in the team. They're like, I need to talk to you a minute. And I love that about them, because they have really made me who I am today, between my family and this team, of having those really honest conversations of what you just said is not okay.
Yep.
What you just said is not okay. Yep. We know what you meant, but how you said it and what you did is not okay. And I'm like, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for making me a better person, a better leader.
And thanks for giving us the opportunity to have those conversations with you as well.
Just like everything else, guys, I want to grow big, just like everybody else. I want to be a great leader. You can't reach the vision, and you can't create this type of brand in this company if you're not a really good leader. Like what do they say, that 90% of businesses don't grow and are chokehold because of the owner? The owner's willingness to not grow and not learn and not see other people's view. Listen, I listen to these ladies all the time. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't, and that's my choice. Most of the times they're right, as you all know. But I say, you know what? You're right. I mean, Lisa knows more about, developing people big and small than probably I ever will, right? True. So she's somebody that I should listen to, that we should listen to. And same with Allison. She's been in this business as long as I have, and she sees things differently than I do. So we should probably listen, and I do listen to those
awesome.
Ladies.
I'm going to ask another question, and then maybe, Sam, we could open it up if anybody wants to ask Richie a question.
I love this.
All right. How did you handle moments when you felt isolated or unsure, and what resources or strategies helped you through those times? And what advice would you give our franchisees to someone starting a business today, especially in terms of managing challenges and growth? And you talk a lot about boards and listening, and you have people around you to help you through things. But again, times of isolation or times where you're unsure, how do you really look at that? Through what lens? And how do you deal with that?
I've done a very good job of surrounding myself with other people. So very early, I think and we might have been in business 2 years, I joined a group called, at that time it was called Tech, now it's called Vistage. It's a worldwide organization of CEOs and entrepreneurs. And I spent 27 years in that organization. And every single month we would get together as business owners. And so I never really felt isolated, because I was surrounded in that mentorship type program. And the team would laugh, because every time they knew exactly when I had a Vistage meeting, because I'd come back with like 10 pages of notes, or like, oh God, what's he coming back with now? But they knew it was good stuff. They knew it was stuff that was going to improve the business. So I've always been really good at surrounding myself with like-minded people, either organizations or just reading a ton, as you guys already know.
Absolutely, it's great. Can you open it up a little bit? Sam, you out there?
I'm here. I'm here to take questions.
Awesome.
Sam's number 2.
Hi, Richie.
Hi.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
My question is family. You speak lovingly about your mom, and I know you have 5 kids. I'm a mom as well of 4, and a lot of us are here. We hear a lot, like, we want to build a legacy. What approach, in your reflection, what approach do you think your mom had in instilling this value where you were so open to, because most kids are like, nah, mom, you're crazy.
I know.
But you just had this genuine openness to her wisdom, and not rebel, but you're like, oh, that's a great idea, and you continually seek her wisdom and counsel. What approach do you think your mom had in raising you or in teaching you that, that you think was valuable to you? And then the second part is, what are you doing to instill similar values to your legacy and the next generation to come?
The first question is a very hard question because I have one brother, and that one brother was the one that said, get out of my bedroom. So I think, the only thing I can think of, I think some of us are just born that way, right? That's the only answer I have. What do they say? You can come from the exact same family and be totally different children. So I don't know the answer to that. The only answer that I could give is I just feel totally blessed and thankful that I was not that. What we do for our children is, of course, our children see this, right? They see what we're doing. They see it, and they see you. They see you guys out there chasing your dreams and what you're doing. I think you have to really. I mean, our dinner table is about business. It's about what are you doing in not only business, but because they're my goals, right? But we also talk about what their goals are. Just to give you guys a little background, through one of our trust attorneys, we met a gentleman named Chris Steer, and I brought Chris Steer in to help the company in strategy, make us better, help us build strategy in the company. He was so great that we actually brought him in to do some executive coaching with all the key executives, and just give them extra, things that I can't give them, time, attention, and just a different perspective. So with that, I actually asked him to come in and conduct family huddle. We call them Huffman family huddles, where every quarter we get together as a family, and Chris is our coach on that, and we talk about what's going on inside the family. I would sit in these Vistage meetings. Thank you for that question. I would sit in these Vistage meetings of these very successful entrepreneurs. They knew how to run businesses. They were very successful, and their home lives were horrible, right? And I think this is maybe some of your little bit of your question. And I said, what if we took all these business tools, smart action plans, vision, mission, one-to-ones, like all these tools that we use as business owners, and what if we took those and applied them to our family? What if the family is an enterprise? Are you guys hearing me talk about this? The family should have a mission statement, a vision statement. What if you had one-to-ones with your children and you talked about what are your goals? So all 5 of our kids have family goals based on who we want to be as a family, the vision that we have as a family, the mission behind the family, and then we have individual goals. And these goals were really dictated by our children. My daughter, our kids are so smart, right? They see what's going on. We think they don't see it. And sometimes we don't even care if they see it, right? Because they're kids. And my daughter, one of her questions was, how does this family make money? Like at 15, right? Because she sees this happening. She's like, what's going on here? Just like I did with my mom, right? Like, what is going on here? So we started really building financial literacy into our meetings of talking about the business and what we're investing in and how we are able to accomplish and get these resources. So it's almost like we're not forcing them to be entrepreneurs. We're not forcing them to take this path. I think that's very important to me. I tell my kids all the time, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But you'll live inside of that parameter. If you want to be a police officer, make $80,000 a year, you will live an $80,000 lifestyle. It's really that simple. If you want to be bigger, better, then go for it. And we're here to support you with that. But I have a funny feeling, I'm not sure about my daughter, but I have a funny feeling that all 4 of the boys will come into the family business at one point. I know we have a plan for them. Evan, the oldest one's a Marine, so he's got about another year and a half. The second one, the third boy are in universities. Evan, the junior, he came last year in the company. We moved him around to different departments just for him to get a sense of it this year. He said, Dad, I want to focus on real estate and construction. So we'll put him with Chris and that team and see if this is something that he wants to pursue. But it's more of who are we as a family? What are we out to accomplish? Philanthropic, who do we want to be? And I use that. I'm like, don't talk like that, right? That's not who we are, right? We're very driven, as I said, by our faith. So we have goals around how do we improve that? How often are we going to church? How often do we want to get together for dinner? All that stuff. And it's very hard right now because they're all, our Marines gone, our boys are in universities. I got 2 left, and I'm like, I'm anxious to get there, but I'm not, because I don't want to wish that away. I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Who's next? Oh, there we go.
But listen, these children are smart. They're watching every move. Jacob.
Richie, I know you're big on mentorship. So can you talk to some strategies that you employ to surround yourself with the right people that buy into your mission and vision and growth?
I would say back to the advisory boards. Like every one of the family has an advisory board, right, of our family. We talked a little about what we're headed. And that advisory board is twofold. It's to help us manage our wealth strategy, as we talked about, and making sure that we're growing towards that wealth strategy and we're executing on the strategy of the Huffman family wealth and the Huffman family balance sheet and what we're out to accomplish. And then Chris Steer, that is working more on the family and the children's goals and objectives. But every single business that we have, the Celebrate Enterprise, which is made up of Emma. Emma's on that board as an advisor. She's 365 franchise partners. She knows a little bit more about franchising than we do. So she's a huge mentor of ours. So we have advisory group for that company. We have advisory group for HWG on the real estate. Like, I'm a huge fan of just show me the way, guys, right? Bringing in that expertise and that talent that can get us there faster with less pain and hiccups along the way. So huge fan of that. And you guys, I know in the cohorts, that's a great opportunity for you guys too to learn from each other, right? I'm super excited about the Celebrate cohorts, right? Why is my payroll 52 and somebody else is 45? Let's figure it out. There's an answer, right? So I'm super excited about the cohorts that you guys are going to establish. I think it serves 2 parts. It's a guidance and a mentor for you guys as related businesses, sets some really good benchmarks, and also creates some competition there, right?
Thank you for that. I think we have 4 or 5 more minutes, so maybe a question. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
When I look around at all the people that we've met here, and everyone, I've met so many people, every single person that I've met, I would invest money and invest with them in their business because they're so confident. And I'm amazed I'm on this train. Karen and I are on this train with you guys.
Thank you,
It's
Tracy.
amazing. And one of the things that happened with us was we, have this school, we have a location, and we are literally share a driveway with Primrose.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough. Then there's a new shopping center that's across the street, and that's a small little daycare in there. And then Goddard comes in down the street, and they're building the the Taj Mahal. And I say to Richie, but for Karen and I, we're like, yeah, this is all great. We think it's we're going strong. And I say to Richie, there's this, and Karen says, there's a Primrose, there's a Goddard, there's little Joey's shack across the street. And I was waiting to see what Richie would say. And he said exactly what I wanted him to say. He said, we got the right location. And a lot of people would have said, really? But what do you mean? Like, what's here? What's there?
Right.
But he focused right in on, I think, the most important thing.
Right.
And I've told my kids, I said, Richie doesn't fool with all the little extraneous stuff.
Yeah.
He's the person that you want to be guiding that train. And I've known you quite a while. And I think that's really true. And,
Thank you.
the people that haven't known you that long,
Yeah.
I saw somebody last week that you know, and he said a lot of people that have known Richie for a while have wanted to get in business with him because they respect him. And, so it's people that have known you for a long time, not just, the people here.
Thank you.
So the main reason we got in here was because I'd known you.
Thank you.
So it was
I remember that conversation. Karen's like, the Goddards come back. I'm like, oh, it tells us we're in the right location. Great job, right? So, but thank you, Tracy. And guys, listen, I care about each and every one of you. As we said, these are not numbers, guys. These are people's lives that we're talking about here. You guys are entrusting me, you're entrusting this team to perform. And we do not take that lightly, nor should we. And I'm just amazed at the other brands that don't behave this way. I tell the story quite often. I remember when we first decided to do this and to open this opportunity up for families like yours. And as you can imagine, if I asked 10 people what they thought, 10 people said it was a horrible idea. And so in my gut, in my faith, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And as you guys know, I was bored with 26 schools, and I was like, I gotta challenge us. I gotta challenge myself, and seeing if we could do this. And man, we're doing it. But there was also a time where the franchise world was telling me, and Emma, you can relate to this, where the franchise world was saying, don't get too connected, don't get too attached, kind of suggest from afar. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm sorry. And if I was forced to do that, I wouldn't do it. I couldn't imagine doing that. I couldn't imagine even that. Why would you want to get out of bed and do that? Because then if you're only doing that, then it's just about numbers. Then it's just about opening schools. Then it's just about the numbers and how many did we award. And believe me, we talk about that. Don't I'm not up here like, I'm not talking about those numbers, because we are talking about those numbers because we want to win, right? We want to make money too. But that's not really what drives the entire company. It's just how it works. If you're not successful, we're not successful. If your first school is not successful, we can't get you to your second school. And it goes back to growing people big and small. I want every single person in this room to prosper. It's really that easy. It's really that simple. I want everybody to prosper in the way that my family has prospered. Where that comes from, I don't know. But I know that I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I know that's what I'm totally committed to, is to helping you guys prosper in this and using Celery platform and using me to help you accomplish that.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the questions. As we close out, Richie, thank you. Thank you for your vision. Thanks for your guidance. Thanks for your leadership. The vision piece. Your vision has created opportunity for all of us. And for that, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be a part of this family. I'm thankful to be a part and work under your leadership. And again, thank you so much for your vision, and I'm so excited about tomorrow.
And guys, it's a true honor to be in this position and for you to trust me with this position with you and your family. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nobody else could have moderated.
Let's hear it one more time for Richie Huffman and Mark Lubin. What an incredible way to end this incredible week.